Okay, we're up. Pre-show. We're live.
Pre-show.
How's everybody doing?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
That's some pre-show phlegm for everybody.
To all lovely mothers out there.
From our throats to yours. Happy Mother's Day.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to say to your moms, guys?
Thanks for everything you do. You know, couldn't
Thanks,
do it without
moms.
you.
Yeah. Thanks,
yeah.
Mom. Stay
Kind
amazing.
I mean, it's one of those things where like no matter what I say, it's always going to be an understatement. So I might as well keep it short and simple.
Aw.
So.
Any
yeah.
big plans?
Brunch. Got a big brunch happening soon, but that's about it.
Yeah, something around like that for me probably too. Yeah, it's one of those things where Sundays tend to be everybody's like out and about doing their own thing the way it works out in my house, so you don't get a ton of time to spend with each other. But like probably like early in the morning, late in the evening, that's quality time. So
You will get to take a day off, Dan, you're saying?
I don't actually, because I'm working tomorrow too, doing stuff for the podcast.
Take
and for
a
other
break
stuff.
for once.
Huh?
It's Mother's Day.
I know, but it's like we've been behind on content this week because of like a number of reasons. So I have to like kind of catch up and do a lot of that, and then I'm doing other work too. So it's sort of just. But hey, they'll, like I said, we'll have time. Like we build time. I try to build time into the day. Usually the start of the day and the end of the day, that's like family time. So and in the middle, which is like 14 hours, like I do work. So yeah.
Cool.
Oh.
All right.
So yeah, we were talking about movie theater
A
crowds.
lot of things.
Yes. Before we went up, I had a decent experience. I watched the movie last night, Doctor Strange, and
Yeah.
there were some good pops. Sometimes like the oddest reaction from the crowd that I got, there was like a number of people. It was probably like a half a dozen people, and it sounded like they were spread out. I think a couple of them were sitting basically next to me, and then a few like behind me, like seemed like spaced out. It wasn't coming from just one part, but. Like there's a scene in the movies, spoiler warning, in Doctor Strange, where I think we all know Professor X is in the movie, but there's a scene in the movie where he's walking around, and as you can imagine, he's not walking around because in the movie he's, we have seen him, he's on like a chair, like he's not able to walk as Professor X, the character, but there's a scene where he is walking around, and it's inside the mind of a character, and for some reason, these 6 or 7 people were just laughing at that, like deliriously, like, oh, he's walking, like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, what is happening here? Because I just found that incredibly jarring to like have that happen, because it's like one of those emotionally tense moments in the movie, and to have that be happening in the theater, I'm like, either these guys had a few gummy bears before the movie, or
at least you were able to pick up on that there was emotionally jarring moments, because I didn't find any of that.
Well, at least that was the intent in that scene.
Well,
I think by the filmmaker.
there were a lot of moments that like got laughs. I don't think they were supposed to get laughs.
Yeah.
But for me, the most obnoxious part was all of those the cameos and the squeals of excitement that I can't help but think are fake. It's just somehow going to the movies has become another platform of look at me, look how much I'm enjoying it, and I
the cinema during screening.
Yeah.
It's kind of there's a lot of people who get very engaged with this kind of content, and so then it starts becoming like they get very excited, and obviously friendly bets and whatnot, and that's where some of that comes from. But I do feel I'm the very purist when it comes to film, so I like to I'm watching the movie, and I don't want people to like create noise or find ways to disturb you.
Yeah.
Unless I am super interested in a part of the movie, and then I'm the one making the comments, usually under my breath. But I mean, I watched it in Dolby and the Dolby experience at AMC, and so the speakers are super loud. The picture is the best you can find, even I think better than IMAX to a certain degree.
Wow.
So my comments couldn't be heard audibly by most people unless it was a very quiet scene. But yeah, when people are like laughing super loud, or like you said, making those obnoxious comments, like loud enough for other people to hear across the theater, that's
Yeah.
just
Mm.
annoying.
It's just like there's this reaction culture. That's the problem, is that the audience has become, in all facets of entertainment, I think the audience has become performers themselves.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
started noticing it at improv shows originally because everybody in the audience was also taking classes, and it's like they knew when to laugh. And it's like, I'm a good audience member. Ha 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 ha. And with this stuff, it's like, I'm a fan. Oh, I know that. Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, this is happening.
Yeah.
And that's, oh my God, I'm so excited. Look.
Do you know how I pictured it today? Like, it's a social media in the cinema, social media happening in the cinema. Like, if people could, people would actually generally start doing Insta stories of themselves. Hey, look, Professor X is on the screen. I saw him first. Yeah, absolutely.
And because of that, it feels like the people making the movies know that, especially Marvel movies, where it's like, this isn't a story that we're telling you. This is an experience for you to enjoy fandom, as opposed to what, the story. And so for me, story didn't do anything. The visual effects I actually found tiresome. It was all visual effects, and cameos, which, again, they shoot those scenes and then they decide who's gonna be the best cameo here, and then they reshoot everything, and you can feel that.
Yeah.
The whole thing feels like a trailer for just more Marvel movies.
It really, I think the biggest problem that I've had with Marvel movies of late is they went from, I think in their first, 6-7 years of existence as a franchise, they were always very cautious and they refrained from giving into fan service a lot, and that's where you got some of their best stories. Because the movie wasn't interested so much in getting wink winks or like reactions from the
They were
crowd. It
more
was about
subtle.
telling a story. And now it's just, I think they've swung the pendulum so far in the other direction that you really feel that it takes away from the experience of the movie. So
Yeah, there's really no heart. And the old Spider-Man movies, the original Sam Raimi trilogy, like, those had heart. You could
yeah,
sympathize, and you could become engrossed in the story. And these movies really keep you at an arm's length.
But interesting, we should probably discuss this at the review, but interesting
Sure.
connection. So the guy who directed Doctor Strange is the same guy that did the old Spider-Man movies, right?
Yeah, but
Sam Raimi. Yeah.
I think the Marvel brand took over whatever his personal touch is.
Intentions
And whenever
were,
his personal
yeah.
touches, like you saw them kind of come through, they felt jarring because I think they were overdoing it, or it just didn't match the theme, the tone of the movie. And that's what I've
Yeah.
seen in a lot of reviews. It just feels that a lot of people are saying similar things, at least the ones who are criticizing the film are saying that.
There's so many different movies in this film. It's so
Yeah.
many different genres, and I liked how they played with the whole horror aspect of it. That was probably the
Yeah.
most when I thought, okay, this is getting somewhere, and then it was just marvelized.
Yeah.
Is that the right word
Yeah.
to use?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I've got some
I-
interesting comparisons to make for this movie when we
Okay.
talk about
I
the
have
movie.
so much to say about it. I feel like maybe we should just talk about it in the show.
Yes.
Maybe we should just start the
Let's
show.
wait.
Maybe that's what's happening.
Well, we
just
do have a
can't
couple other
wait.
things.
Oh, there's always a couple other
We have a
things
couple.
with you,
Hey,
man.
look, we got comment of the week, right? So it's Mother's
do
Day.
we?
So
All right. Well,
Oh,
because it's
right.
Mother's Day, our comment of the week today, I should have planned better ahead for this because I would have used it last week. But Mags, you weren't here, so why don't you read us out our comment of the week, which is a Mother's Day special.
Are we
So
doing this
revenge.
here we
It's the
go.
revenge for Rolan. I see right through it. Comment of the
Oh,
week
come
by
on.
Kimberly Frankel.
We're doing this
Oh,
twice?
it's the Mama Frankel. Oh, my heart is melting. Okay.
2 weeks in a row. That's not comment of the week. This isn't.
Okay, let's go for it. Enjoying the unscripted, thoughtful, insightful discussion and commentary, as well as the energy of the follow-up quick hits. Very refreshing. Courtesy YouTube. Yay! Oh, she's a sweetheart. I like Mama Frankel.
She's the
What
best.
happened to you?
To me? Huh? You know what happened is I got comments like this for everything I ever did. And that got to my head, and now we've created a monster.
Makes sense.
No, she's
Explains
wonderful, and I love the fact that she's even watching and likes the show. Happy Mother's Day. I love you, Mom.
Awesome. Well, there you
Are
go.
we finished with the comment of the week segment now?
Huh?
Are we finished?
Are we finished? Yeah, sure.
the-
Yeah, we're good
Wonderful.
with that. We are good with that. Yeah, anything on the TV front that you guys wanted to say? I know we're gonna focus a lot on movies today, as we usually do. So, any TV shows that you guys want to point to, something that we should be watching that we are not watching?
Something. Oh my god, I forgot what I was going to bring up. There's something coming out. It's like, oh, I wish I could watch that.
Well, Obi-Wan
mean,
Kenobi's
I'm
coming
still-
out.
Yeah, Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I'm still on Better Call Saul, and I'm still gonna argue that this is probably smarter than Breaking Bad. And last two episodes were extreme emotional roller coasters and really great acting. So,
Which show?
Better Call Saul, and I know
Oh.
it's underrated. People think, oh, because it starts slow, but if you give it, give it a couple of seasons, then it just really gets interesting, and you see how the first two seasons serve the purpose of like the genuine intention of the show. That's why right now it's just emotional roller coaster every episode, and it's the
Really?
last one. So I'm always gonna send people to that. So.
I love Bob Odenkirk. I was a big fan of Mr. Show, and anytime that he produced one of my other favorite sketch shows, The Birthday Boys, which hilarious. And I've been watching.
Have you seen Nobody?
I saw Nobody. It was awesome.
Right.
It was really, really good, and unexpected.
Yeah.
I've been watching interviews with him lately. He did a sit down with Jack Black about his new book, and you know, I'm a big fan of that guy. Apparently, he doesn't watch anything that he acts in. He just does the acting, and although I find that hard to believe for the sketches.
Yeah.
Funny.
I also find that because how would you then improve on your work if you don't watch it back?
Well, you know, there's something to be said about maintaining the reality of the scenes that you're in and not acting to perform, but acting to live in the moment. And he does a really good job of that. And he never feels like he's doing a bit. Plus, you do a lot of takes, and a director will always tell you, like, let's try this time. And you get better and you learn how to work with a director. But,
Right.
you know, if it becomes like, if it turns into making TikTok videos, oh, I should make this face this time, then it's not acting. You're just, you know, you're clowning, you're miming.
He had a heart attack also. They pushed
did.
the thingy. Yeah. I'm so close. But he's doing well, and he's brilliant in the show. Like,
he was a great part of Breaking Bad originally. Apparently, he the reason he got that part is because in the Breaking Bad writers' room, they were just watching old Mr. Show sketches, and they thought it would be really funny to bring him on as the lawyer. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's incredible the way some things just turn out because people like something you do, and they thought, well, let's try it. And now you've got the whole spin-off and a whole new career.
Yeah.
It did fit.
All right. Well, I mean, okay. Well, the one thing I'll say is I've been binging Star Trek Picard, catching up.
Yeah.
And the season finale aired last week, so that's the only episode I've got left to watch. And so that when I saw Professor X come up in Doctor Strange, it wasn't Because here's the thing, Patrick Stewart doesn't do a whole lot these days, right? So if you haven't seen him on screen in a while, and in the trailers you only hear him, you don't see him. So when he first comes on screen in the movie, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, Professor X, and it's also just, oh, Patrick Stewart, like haven't seen him in a while. And but for me, I've just been watching him for hours on end this like over the course of the last week. So that also maybe I think took away from my excitement. But hey, Star Trek Picard season 2, like it. I actually like it better than the first season. I've been watching Halo as well on Paramount Plus. I've just been watching Paramount Plus has got some good stuff for me right now. They've got all the good sci-fi stuff that I'm following, and
Nice.
then I'm waiting for Obi-Wan to start on Disney Plus. So good stuff on TV. There's a lot of Amazon shows I'm waiting to come. Outer Range, season
Lord of
2
the
of
Rings.
Homecoming, I haven't seen yet.
But that's not for a while, right?
Well, no, season 2 came out actually a while ago. It's the one that has the Janelle Monáe in it. It's remember it was what's her name? Who's the one from Pretty Woman? Why am I forgetting her name?
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts. She was in season 1 of Homecoming. Remember? Have you guys? Are we talking about the same show?
Yeah, I like the podcast. I never watched the actual show.
It's you should check it out. It's a really well done show. Very very good ambiance. It's kind of, if you want to like kind of get away from the world around you, that show does a good job of putting you into like an alternate reality. So
that's neat. I was trying to I can't place the show I heard about today. Barry is coming back. That's a good one. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. I was watching Men in Black 3 the other day, and he plays Andy Warhol in it for like a scene. It's hilarious.
That's great. His cameos are ridiculous. I for some reason wanted to watch The Brothers Solomon again, which is Will Arnett and Will Forte playing brothers who want to have a baby for their dad, and so they find a surrogate. It's a ridiculous movie.
Wow.
But Bill Hader has this non-speaking recurring bit part where for some reason, and that's actually another thing that was directed by Bob Odenkirk, funny enough, Bill Hader's just a guy in a yellow t-shirt in a recumbent bicycle, just like smiling and like riding through different scenes. It's the weirdest It's the weirdest use of Bill Hader I think I've ever seen, but I loved it.
For me,
I like the way you said it's
Hollywood.
the weirdest use of Bill Hader, as if he's not a person. I'm sorry.
Well, like it's funny. He's come up 3 or 4 times now. We were talking about him with Star Wars too, because like they used him to make the noises for BB-8 and all those things. And it's like there's ways to use Bill Hader. And
have you guys seen the roast of James Franco when he played the president of Hollywood?
No, I didn't.
No.
It's the funniest thing. It's so good.
He was on.
How they? Yeah.
I was gonna say he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, playing 3 different brothers, with this thick, unplaceable accent. It was, and it's like they're supposedly not brothers, but they all have the same accent, different mustaches and facial hair. And like one speaks very high, one speaks like mid-range, one speaks very low, but they're all Bill Hader. Same episode. It's a funny dude.
Do you remember how we wanted to do Jim Carrey episode? I think Bill Hader's another one.
I think we could do it when we gotta find the time. I think it's like every week so much is happening, like with movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Although next week is a pretty empty week in terms of movies coming out, so maybe we can do something next week.
Maybe Bill Hader.
The other series that's coming out is Mike Myers the Pentaveret.
Oh, I saw like some of the reviews. They're like, don't worry about, like I saw an article that was basically pointing out this is just another example of Netflix's blank check.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
Like
I'm gonna watch
I think was the word they used.
I'm gonna
because
watch it.
The whole point of this project to exist is for Mike Myers to be Mike Myers. Doesn't matter what he's doing. Yeah.
But I like him, and I love the Austin Powers movies. I loved So I Married an Axe Murderer. Yeah. Yeah. So I've missed him. I even like The Love Guru. It was And Wayne's World. And pretty much big Mike Myers fan. So I miss him. I'll watch him. I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
Too many.
Okay. Well, I think that does it for the pre-show, right? We got a ton of stuff to talk about in the actual show itself, so we can just dive into it.
Should we get started?
Yes.
Let's move on.
What's up, Internet? This is Oh So Curious. It's another episode, another week of looking at the world and wondering what's going on. 3 curious minds this week, trying to tell time. That's what we do here. And thank you for coming and spending your Sunday afternoon, morning. I don't know what time it is wherever you're watching. I know currently it is morning over here. But if you're just joining us for the first time, be sure to like and subscribe, comment. Maybe you can get featured as the comment of the week in our pre-show, which we just did. We just did a pre-show. Anyway, I am joined by Mags and Dan. It's a good day to be on Oh So Curious. Happy birthday!
That's cute.
I like that. Was not expecting that.
That was not expected. Thank you,
Wonderful.
guys. And I was laughing about the comment of the week. I mean, we're fine with having Miss Frankel joining us next time even.
Yeah.
She has
You know
some
what?
great comments.
Maybe we'll get her on the show.
Oh, hey. Sorry, I'm still here. I'm here.
Hi,
Hey,
Dan.
Dan.
Hi. Sorry, I'm busting this party. Okay. We're here. Sorry.
All good.
How are you?
What's going
I'm
on?
good. I'm good.
He's good. This just in, Dan's good. So yeah, we got a good show for you. And what do you say? Shall we get right into the rundown and let you know what's happening?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, guys, here's the rundown. First, we're going to do some quick hits. That is everything that happened last week that's worth knowing about, followed by our Moon Knight Episode 6 review, and we might even do a little bit of a rundown on that, on the retrospective. Doctor Strange, we saw it, we'll tell you about it, and then we're going to get into a little bit of a discussion about Age of Heroes. And then next time, we're looking at Firestarter to see what that movie's all about. And maybe next week, we'll even review it. Hard to tell. But it's going to be a pretty good show. I can feel it in my bones. Why don't we get started with those quick hits? Yo, you're excited about it?
Yeah, the rundown is cool.
It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Mags, the last time you were on the show, we didn't use the rundown. So it's been probably a few weeks since and I've made some changes to the graphics. It looks neat.
I'm always blown away with the graphics on this show.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Okay.
Worth a like, worth a subscribe, worth a comment. And a share if you got one of those in you. So yeah, be sure to do that. And now, the quick hits.
All right, time for some quick hits. Let's see what went down this week. We start things off with more news from family.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Yeah, I'm not really good impersonator. Louis Leterrier has been called in by Universal to replace the departing Justin Lin in the director's chair for Fast 10, also known as Fast X. Lin departed from the production a week ago after alleged problems working with the franchise's lead star and the producer Vin Diesel. Drama. Now with the ballooning budget of reportedly $300 million, one must wonder if there is more trouble yet to be brewing in... Yeah, just play the clip down. Just play the clip.
You don't turn your back on family.
It's so catchy, no? I know. Moving on. It was Dwayne Johnson's birthday this week. Was it? Missed that. The handsome Is he though? I mean, yeah. Recently made an appearance at CinemaCon to promote his upcoming DC film Black Adam, and with the film on the track to shift the balance of power in the DC universe this October, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? I'm lost. At least we know Dan finds Dwayne Johnson attractive, so yeah. Moving on. On the May 4th, yes, May the 4th be with you guys, always and forever. Lucasfilm dropped the new trailer for the upcoming, highly anticipated Obi-Wan Kenobi series, set for limited run on Disney Plus starting on May 27th. What are you most excited to see on the show? Where do I even start? But yeah, we'll be reviewing the series, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. It should be good. Speaking of balance of power in the DCEU, Superman... let's not... Nah, he's more of the Witcher now. He's White Wolf. White Wolf, Henry Cavill, also celebrated his birthday this week. The star of The Witcher keeps hitting it out of the park with every project he touches. Sort of. And with the new ownership at Warner Bros. Discovery looking to revitalize the Superman franchise, we could see Cavill don the cape once again. God, please don't let Cavill touch the cape ever again. He should just stick to Geralt. He's Geralt. It's Geralt. It's Geralt. Right, and lastly, Doctor Strange, pardon me. It's not a greatest day for me for my dyslexia to kick in, but like just bear with me. I'm doing it. It's fine. Lastly, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is finally out in theaters, making bank at the box office and sitting pretty with a fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. But hearing from those who have already seen the film, the sequel isn't without its cavities and might not be everyone's cup of tea. Have you seen it yet? So what did you think? So because I'm going to see it in 3 hours and I don't know what to think. I'm excited, I'm not excited. It's kind of mixed feelings. You know, it's a cinema trip. It's fun. Good. And that's it. Them are the quick hits. By the way, have you seen the finale of The Moonlight? Because we have, and we've reviewed all the episodes, and you can see it link down below. And yeah, just look us up. We're also curious, and we stream every week, and it's really fun. And yeah, okay, we're done. And by the way, we named her Georgina, in case you guys have been wondering. She's Georgina, so I'm still pretty excited about it. Okay, bye guys.
So that's been the last 6 weeks for me and you guys. We've been watching every episode of this, reviewing it, and if you haven't checked those out and you want some expert analysis on Moon Knight, take a look at the stuff that we've done. Or if you want to save some time, we're going to talk about the whole series right now, because now we have a bit more of a gestalt for it. We've seen all the parts move to, melding together, how all of the elements work to. Yes, yeah. We've really experienced the whole thing, and it's I don't know. I
just gonna put up a language warning for that word, because I don't know what it means.
Gestalt?
So it could be
gestalt, taking something as the sum of all of its parts, as opposed
Gestalt.
to. Yeah, it's
Wow.
a psychology term. I'm very, very smart. And it's
I'm Googling this right now.
Go ahead. Yeah. And
love that.
We let's take the 50,000 foot view of it. Question number 1, would you recommend it to a friend? Would you recommend the series to a friend? I wouldn't. But Dan, what do you think? Was it worth watching?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a show that, I mean, I said it after the first episode, and even though it sort of didn't end exactly the way I would want it to, I do believe that the show overall is the best thing that Marvel has done on Disney Plus to date. So yeah, I would recommend it.
What makes it the best?
I just thought that the show overall is a fantastic character study. It wherever the show was lacking, it was because they were trying to, again, I don't even know what the definition of this is for everybody, but marvelize it. Like, and by that I basically mean whenever they got away from character-based storytelling to just focusing on plot and having like these big CGI action set pieces, that's when the show was at its weakest. But then whenever it was about the characters, that's when, I thought they did some of their best work. So.
Mags, how about you? What was the best part of it for you?
I'm just happy that my term marvelized kind of ended up in Dad's lingo. It's like a small
get it
success.
trending. Hashtag marvelized. That's going to be our because that is a thing that has happened, and I think maybe later when we talk about the Age of Heroes, we can unpack that word and really what it means, because I think it's something that people are cognizant of, but they haven't memed it or named it yet. So let's talk about that. Yeah. What was the worst part of it? Because I don't think it was the strongest content I've seen. It felt a little disjointed. I never got a real sense of good or bad or the mission. I never really felt connected to anything. There was a lot going on. And, is this a sympathetic character? Do we care about Moon Knight?
I really cared for Stephen, the English one.
Yeah.
Or is it Mark?
No, Stephen is English. I know you confused them before. Mark is American.
I have. See, I still am. I thought the explanation and exploration of why he is the way he is was very heartbreaking and very accurate in the way a child's psyche works, and so fully supporting what you said, Dan. It was very good, very detailed, very just kind of clear, focused study on the character, but just making it over marvelized, destroy the heart for me, to have a heart in it for me. Yeah.
I felt for that in those scenes particularly, where we get a look into the mind of Mark as a young man and as a kid, and we see what causes somebody to dissociate and to try and escape their reality. Where that plays into his... Actually, let me tell you this. I don't know what Moon Knight's powers are. I watched 6 episodes of this. I don't know what he does. I don't know what
fighting,
his special...
right?
He fights. He
basically
can, like he can do a costume change. He'd be a great stage actor, but use the suit.
Yeah.
No, the other suit.
And it gave me like Mortal Kombat vibes, when the mask was kind of, I thought it was cool. Like cool special effect when he was turning into the Moon Knight.
And so now now we have this third persona that was revealed post credits, right? That's what you told me.
So you still haven't seen it?
I didn't watch it. I was like, episode's done, series is done. Me too. But from what I understand, there's a third personality that we're meeting. His name is Jake. And this is the question I was asking before. Is this season 1 of a multi-season show, or are they going to, again, marvelize it and just spin this off into another series? Is he just going to appear as one of these 3 people in movies or other shows? What do you predict is next for Moon Knight? Because clearly this isn't the end.
Yeah, they left it relatively open-ended, so I do believe they're gonna come back with more content around Moon Knight. However, Oscar Isaac earlier this week, in one of the media interviews in appearances that he was making, I don't know if it was about this project specifically, but he was asked about this, like season 2, is it happening? We already heard from one of the producers on the show that no, season 2 is not in the works, and then Oscar Isaac basically said the same thing. He said that they don't have any plans for season 2, but like in a manner of, again, I'm paraphrasing, that he's excited about the character when they took it. He saw this as like a one-off for the most part, but
acting didn't match up, and so he's giving a fantastic performance.
All right,
But
we're back. Okay.
where did we
I
leave
pretty
off?
I
I
was
said the
talking
same thing.
about something to do with Moon Knight coming back in the future. I'll just
Right.
summarize it by saying Oscar Isaac basically implied that yes, there'll be more Moon Knight. It doesn't seem like has a contract in place right now for anything other than what was already done. And the producer said, yeah, we're not doing a season 2 of this, but you'll likely, basically see Moon Knight in other places. So maybe they bring him to the movies. Maybe, we get him cameoing in other projects. So.
And that's the main use of an actor I've found in Marvel is to be a cameo.
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing him pop up unexpectedly in
Unexpectedly.
Can you do that
some
again?
other
It was
thing.
with the
Oh,
quotes.
sure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to him showing up unexpectedly in some other Marvel thing. Maybe. Maybe.
It's just such a coincidence that we had WandaVision 5 months ago, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And now
Crazy.
Can
And
I
she
ask you
happened
guys
to
a question?
show up.
Because we
show up, take over the film. Anyway, sorry.
I was just gonna ask you, what did you think about Layla's turn as a superhero in this last episode of the show?
Could not care less.
I literally wanted to say that. Oh my god.
Could not care less.
It's what I said in review. She checked the boxes.
Yeah.
Egyptian
I mean,
Wonder Woman.
Here
I'll
we
say
go.
this:
Here's
the costume looked pretty cool.
cool
it was
costume.
yeah.
The costumes on this show were good. Not gonna take that away from them.
Yeah.
Again, everybody's superpower appears to be cool costume.
Yeah, but the way they kind of go about giving her that costume and obviously this becoming a superhero, and there's a point in the episode
Because
where like a kid asks her, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" and she's like, "Yes." And I'm like, we couldn't find a more subtle way of doing that because that just was way too on the nose for me. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because it's television, maybe it's because it's Marvel, but
yeah.
nothing is subtle in
Anymore.
these movies or in this content anymore. Everything is explicit fan service and explicitly talking to the viewer. I guess it's implicit and explicit. It's not subtle. It's not subtly implicit at all. It's literally somebody going nudge nudge wink wink, being like, "Hey, we did it, right? You see that?" And it's like,
it's
yeah,
almost
I
like,
saw it.
oh, the signs are there, just flashing. Look
Yeah.
what we made for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the end, like, if he just showed up as, as another cameo in another Marvel universe in the Marvel now multiverse, would it matter if I knew his backstory or anything that happened here? No.
See, I think that's my problem with that. I think this is actually better to leave it for Doctor Strange
Sure.
commentary, but it kind of ties in into Moon Knight. The fact that they did Doctor Strange into the madness of multiverses, that literally gave them a card of, hey guys, we can do whatever the hell we want right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna have. I'm just waiting for Jedi to appear in Marvel.
That's what I've been saying.
It's gonna break my heart, but
And the thing is, it wouldn't be a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It would be now, and so then they could invent any character they want.
Yeah.
And then if they wanted to, they could travel back a long, long time ago and meet everybody and CG Mark Hamill's face on some other actor, and then you'll have Spider-Man fighting alongside Luke Skywalker, and I will have to sit through it, I suppose.
But
no.
Sorry. Go ahead, Max.
No, I just had a bad vision of
I'm just all right.
That's
to kind of put a period on Moon Knight, I will say this. Moon Knight as a show, I felt like if you took away episode 6, for me would have been a much more consequential and a far better show because
I agree.
It felt like we started a character story in episode 1 that concluded in episode 5. And you leave it there, then Moon Knight the next time we see him come back and now he has his costume back and something to that effect, or everything that happens in episode 6 becomes like a 2-hour long movie. For me, that would have been far more preferable than what they did here, because what they did with episode 6 certainly sets up more storytelling opportunities, but overall for me what it did is it sort of made a lot of what happened before episode 6 seem inconsequential, because like the whole character arc finished and then they were like, oh whatever, never mind, we're doing it this way. And I think Marvel has lost its sense of restraint over the last few years that it used to make some of its best projects as good as they were. And that's kind of, I'm going to be saying something similar about Doctor Strange. But yeah, I think Moon Knight, even so, it's still the best show they've done on Disney Plus as far as the MCU is concerned, which is, I think telling, considering like all the other stuff they've put out, like the quality of that versus what we saw here. So.
Well, it sounds like we're kind of chomping at the bit to talk about Doctor Strange. Why don't we just hop right into that?
Well, actually, before we do that,
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Don't get ahead of yourself. You got to look at the rundown that we put together.
But
hey, if you guys watch Moon Knight, do let us know what you thought about it. I did love Oscar Isaac's. I think we all loved Oscar Isaac's abilities as an actor in the show. So that was always the highlight, no matter what episode you were watching. But yeah, let us know what you thought about it. But hey, Andrew, guess what? Hey. Before we talked about Doctor Strange, we will be taking a look at Strange Adventures with Brian. He's got a new best friend, and he decided to tell us all about it.
Let's meet Brian's new friend.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Daniel.
All right, man. You ready to get down to business?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, let's start with your mic. Let's do this. I've got this Shure MV7 podcast mic I'm looking at here. It's got voice. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Daniel.
All right, man. You ready to get down to business?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay, well, let's start with your mic, all right? Let's do this thing. I've got this Shure MV7 podcast microphone I'm looking at here. It's got voice isolation technology. It's got auto level mode, USB XLR connectivity. So what do you think, Brian? 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 Brian?
Since Spider-Man, this has been the most highly anticipated Marvel movie event of the year. This was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Spider-Man kind of set this up, introducing us to the idea of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse, where anything goes. We can establish different timelines. We can bring characters in from other properties like Sony's Marvel universe. And now
Love it.
there's a big old mess in the multiverse, and it's up to Doctor Strange to clean it up. How did we feel about this film?
You forgot to add the reason why is there a mess, which is the most ridiculous reason.
What's the reason again?
Wanda's dreaming of having kids of her own, which she cannot have.
She
right?
can't have
Did I
them?
get it right? Was that the reason?
Basically.
Yeah.
And it's such a
Basically.
flawed, because I'll just like right off the bat, let's get into the deep end here before we
Please.
do that, actually, let me put up I don't know if I did this already, so I'll put this up now. I would like to put up a spoiler warning because we will be diving into all the spoilers.
Let's
all
be
right.
honest. The movie was spoiled already, but we're going to reveal details.
Yeah. So here's the thing about this movie that I think fundamentally
It was revealed in the trailer. It's fine. It's fine. That was revealed in the trailer.
Yeah, right. Well, that's we put up a general spoiler warning anyway. All right. So what I'm trying to get at here is the fact that this movie's fundamentally, I think no matter what version of the movie you made here, one of the fundamental flaws in the philosophy of this story is, or just this, I don't know what you would call like the structure of the story or the nature of the story, is that Wanda's motivation in this film is very iffy at best, because she's wants to basically be with her kids that never existed, that she conjured up in a completely made up reality, and then fell in love with the idea of having those kids with a character that no longer exists. And then in WandaVision, she got over that whole situation. At the end, it was resolved, and she was happy that or not happy, but she had accepted the idea that the kid, she couldn't have a family that wasn't real. And then the end of the show, we have like this one, I think, scene where they say, oh, never mind, she got the dark hold, and she's not actually over it. She just let that's the people go in that city or town, and now she's gonna do it all over again. And so again, it's like
That's the series.
That's a series.
Or is
That's
that...
everything before the movie. But and that's another issue that we can talk about. But the point I'm trying to make is that whole show, like the same thing as Moon Knight, it's like if the episode 6 didn't happen, that show would have felt like it was a consequential entry into the MCU. And the last scene in the last episode of WandaVision made that whole series seem inconsequential to the greater MCU, because everything that happened in that show, basically literally Dr. Strange says in the start of the movie when he goes to meet her for the first time, I'm not here to talk to you about Bestview. Or I think that's the name of the town. I'm here. They're like, oh, you watch WandaVision? Great. If you didn't, nobody cares. Let's talk about this movie. Like, and it's their insistence to constantly toss those things to the side. It's an insult to people who choose and take their time to go watch those shows, because Kevin Feige or whoever, like the people in charge, the creatives are like, you can watch the shows and they're great, but at the end of the day, if you don't, it doesn't matter, because the movies will never truly integrate with them. And so it's an insult to somebody who spent their time watching the show, and it's an insult to somebody who didn't, because then their motivation to watch this movie becomes even like less, like a lot more murkier than it used to be.
To counter argue that, I haven't seen this series, but her motivation kind of make kind of sense. Her desire to kill the child was not, or like, play with the multi-universes was not strong enough argument, but her being hurt after killing Vision was, that's essentially the connection I made. That's why she was so heartbroken. It wasn't because of the series. Like my lack of knowledge about the series did not impact my viewing experience whatsoever. I didn't feel like...
it's I honestly I didn't think too hard about the motivation because I was watching this movie feeling like, and said this when I saw it with a friend, but I told her like this feels like episode 7 of season 3 of a show I've never watched. And that's tough because everything that happens in this is inconsequential to everything else. It's a big mess. There's a lot to keep track of. They introduce characters that they kill off, and it's I don't know. It just the entire time I just kept thinking to myself, this is really lame. I've I couldn't shut it off. My mind was screaming it. This is lame. This is really, really lame.
This is really
so much.
bad.
This is like there's action, but I don't care. There's characters, but I don't know them and I don't care. And I realized, I was a comic book nerd for my youth, but back then I knew the mythology and I knew about the idea of the multiverse and the fact that everybody in Marvel was part of the same universe. And back then, that was just something that people who read comics knew. Now, it's so mainstream, everybody knows. And I'm sitting there in the audience with these people who are reacting. They're squealing with joy and, saying, oh, yeah. I saw that coming. And, oh, this is, wow. And I'm just, I hate to say it. I think Marvel movies are for nerds, just for nerds, and I don't think I am one anymore.
I mean, being a nerd isn't a bad thing. I just think it's for Marvel.
It's been remarketed.
Marvel fans.
It's been remarketed so that everybody wants to be a nerd, and everybody, hey, if you know all the details, you're in. You're in on the. It's like fine to be interested in nerdy things, but now this caricature of, hey, you're a nerd and I'm a nerd, and nerds are cool. And it's like, just tell me a good story.
Yeah. You just reminded me of Good Burger. It's like, instead of like, I'm a dude.
I'm a nerd. She's a nerd. He's a nerd. Because we're all nerds. Yeah. That's what it is.
It is. I think that's one of the things that also drew me out not because of. Well, yeah, I think I always thought that this movie, with how deep it goes into the craziness of like, and how deep it goes into the comic lore of it all, it's gonna leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth who are there to watch a good movie. They don't care so much about all the nods to comic book culture. And this movie didn't find a good way to balance that. And I think, again, Marvel in the past used to be more restrained in that sense. And they would be like, they would focus on making a great movie first, and then the references and the Easter eggs and the comic book things like would come secondary because they're like, yes, it's good to have
special.
That. Yeah.
It used to be truly unique. Now it's just...
Well, they used to be characters, and I think something really went wrong. They brought out Iron Man, and now we have this really like smart, self-aware, makes quips and is like, he's a funny character. And then they pushed it really far with Deadpool to be like, hey, this is how self-aware a Marvel movie could be. And suddenly every single Marvel character is the same kind of serious when they need to be serious. They're the same kind of self-aware when they want to be self-aware. They're the same kind of funny when they want to be funny. And I don't find that there's any real character anymore. It just feels like one person, the faceless Marvel with a bunch of puppets or action figures, just being like, I'm serious. I'm also serious. Now I'm joking around. That's a funny joke.
Disingenuous.
It's disingenuous. There's nothing really human or interesting about it to me anymore. I feel like if they want to get people like me back, and who knows if they even want me as a fan, but if they want
that's another thing. I don't think you're the fan anymore.
Probably not. I think maybe I've outgrown it.
But that's part of the problem,
because they should cater the original fans, the people that kind of made Marvel happen. Like,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
generation essentially.
I mean, the movies
It was-
did not.
yeah.
They're not around today because all the hardcore fans went and watched the movies. They're around today because like everybody went and saw the movies. So
Yeah.
I think if they start losing the casual fan, that's when Marvel is gonna be in big trouble. Yeah.
And
it's-
the original Spider-Man movies, which were also directed by Sam Raimi, those were great because you could sympathize and you could feel what was going on with Peter Parker. And it was about the story. And it wasn't about. And same with The Dark Knight. It's not, hey, we all know what's going on with these comic book characters. It was, let's look at these ideas that have been kind of marginalized to just being for a certain group of people. Let's make them compelling to everybody. Let's turn them into a good story. Let's develop the characters so that we care. When everything is reduced to cameos and, you know, quips and self-aware meta commentary, you're not telling a story anymore.
They had a really, so in all defense, I agree with every single thing you guys say, but to say something in defense of this film, there was just one small thing that I wish they explored further, because it's very I'd say it's quite common, but it's not used that much by films. And they had the joke. It was the line, "How are you?" Like truly, are you good? How is your life? Do you remember? So Doctor Strange gets asked,
Are you
this,
happy?
right?
I think is the question.
Are you happy? Yeah.
Are you happy? And it's such a difficult question for everyone nowadays. And I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity where they could have really explored this. Like, yeah, like we answer, yeah, we're good, we're happy, like in a passing moment. But not everyone takes a second to just really ask themselves the question, hey, am I happy with decisions I'm making? So yeah, it's a shame, because that could have been something very more meaningful, more deeper.
Yeah.
Something
but,
they really tried
see,
to
that's
hard
their
to do. And yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just gonna say that's what you're saying. I think to add to that, that concept, that question is something that it's a very subtle, it's a very nuanced thing that has to be explored in a very nuanced way. Like, are you happy? Like, it's a deep character driven question, and this movie just felt like it didn't have enough time for character development. The movie only had time for plot. So that was like that whole, if there was one theme in this movie, it was, are you happy? Because that's what they started off with in the beginning, ask that question being asked of Doctor Strange, and then, you know, toward the end, the same thing. Even, you know, in other respects, I think whether it's his relationship with America Chavez, his relationship with Wong, his relationship with Christine, his relationship with himself, like they dropped this like bombshell that his sister passed away when they were playing on ice and she fell through.
Oh no,
Like
that
60% through the movie, and then just were like, oh, whatever, like small detail, let's move on, next fight in this movie is coming up. You know, like that kind of thing. And it's just like every time like the movie tried to inject character development and for us to like find reasons to care about these characters, the movie it was like Kevin Feige was like, no, don't worry about it, Sam. Plot. We gotta move on. We gotta get back to the story. We gotta go stop Wanda again.
Wanda.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just was disappointing.
We already put up the spoiler warning, but I really want to take issue with the cameo scene. And that's all it was. It was a cameo scene. If you haven't heard by now, John Krasinski, they put their foot in the water. John Krasinski as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Again, I want to bring up the fact that they shoot these scenes, they do some market research to see who tests well, and then they reshoot them with the actors. And that's exactly how it feels. And that whole
Can you explain that further for those who don't know?
So
how does the market research?
So we heard, you know, rumors that fans are really pushing for John Krasinski to be Reed Richards. Well, I'm a fan. I was a fan. I wasn't pushing for anybody. But I'd heard that, and then wouldn't you know it, I went to see the movie and there he was. It's almost like they listen to the fans. Well,
They
you
did.
know,
That's exactly it. It's a casting thing. Yeah.
is it, or did they put out that rumor? Was it more viral marketing? And did they have other people go, you know, yeah, I guess that'd be cool. And yeah, people are responding well to this. It'll be
Well,
John
the
Krasinski.
the rumors for that have been around for years, even before Disney bought Fox. They were like
Really?
fans had been wanting to have John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic and
Stop listening
what's
to
her name?
fans.
Her wife Emily Blunt as Sue
Emily Blunt,
Storm.
yeah.
And it's so
And
I guess they finally gave into it.
they kill off this version of
I
him
can't believe it.
because it's in another universe, but they can bring back anybody because, you know,
It's
Doctor
another
Strange is
universe.
always and Doctor Strange is always played by Benedict Cumberbatch apparently.
Wait, have you
Yeah,
guys
apparently.
seen that? Exactly. Have you seen that meme where you have different Spider-Mans and then Benedict
And
the
then for some
same?
reason, Strange is, or like, hey, there's a female Loki in one of the variations of the timeline, but
Yeah.
for some reason, Strange is always,
And
played by the
Captain
same.
England,
It's sort
you
of
know.
like that's
Yeah.
where I think you get into it's one part of the multiverse. Like if you're trying to tackle a concept as big and as expansive and as diverse as the multiverse, like scientifically speaking, there's many different ways to tackle the multiverse depending on what theory you go
Scientifically
for.
speaking, there's nothing proven or even reasonable about the idea of a
Yeah,
multiverse. Quantum physics is just a theory that
yeah.
Hollywood writers love because it gets them out of plot holes.
But
But
that's the
Into the
thing.
Spider-Verse made sense.
It
No,
Because they
the
thought about it
2018 one.
But you have to
into the
establish
spider.
like a set of rules within the world of the story and then
Yes.
follow them. But what you can't ever do is give off the impression that eh, every anything can happen and therefore nothing matters. And I think that's a
Yeah,
fine line that you have to walk when you're
that's.
tackling a
Mm,
multiverse concept.
Yeah, I just felt a little lost in this one, and there were too many elements to keep track of, too much pretense and pretext to keep track of, you know, and like
which
assigned reading that you have to do before you even make sense of
which
what you're
attracted pretentious audience.
Yeah, can we just very quickly though take a can we move back to the cameos? Because I want to
Sure.
point out something.
Yeah.
I think I hated the majority of the costumes for those cameos of the Illuminati members
Well, they'll
because if
change
you
them in the next universe
But
huh
Illuminati,
because
can
of
we
market
even?
research. I
well
Are
was
we?
making a joke.
like for example
Are
John
we not going to
Krasinski's
discuss Illuminati? Okay.
We
I
can.
mean, I'm like the before that scene. I mean, before they go to the chamber and his Mordo is like, "It's time for you to meet the Illuminati." I'm like, and under my breath, I made the comment of how pretentious you have to be to call yourself the Illuminati. Like, and I just like, eye roll because like that concept alone, I'm like in the comic book it works, but to do it in the movie, like and that's the thing where Marvel, I feel like literally they took a lot of they were like, we don't give a shit. This is an alter universe version, so we will make it as cheesy and as comic accurate as possible. But when we do
Mhm.
the 616 version, the mainline MCU, then we will like start to like treat it seriously because that played into every aspect of that whole sequence where it was the most comic book cheesy costumes for every character that we got. Like I think we've seen two or three versions of the Fantastic Four on
Mhm.
the silver screen before, and by far the version of the costume that they had for John Krasinski wear was by far the worst one looking one on camera. However, it's the most comic
It
book
looked
accurate one.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the same thing with like Professor X. He's wearing a light gray suit in a building where the color
That
yellow is
wheelchair.
almost nowhere to be found, and his chair sticks out like a sore thumb the whole time. It just bothered me like how it's at time
Yeah.
I'm like you gotta stick to some like ground it at some to a certain degree, and this movie just like I said, when everything can happen and nothing matters, that's when things start to become visual noise. And I felt like that this movie at some points was like the third act of a Transformers film because we kept going from one stupid ridiculous fight where they were doing weird hand gestures and
Yes.
throwing lightning bolts and things at each
And
other to the
How
and
next.
did
here's
you guys? How
Yeah.
did you
every
guys think about feel about the horror elements? Because that's when the film looked
didn't
most
even notice
promising for
them.
me.
Didn't
You
even
didn't
notice them.
notice?
Didn't even no. There was nothing scary about this movie.
Hmm. No,
I
it wasn't scary, but he used some elements from horror film that he really needed to polish, I suppose, in order to attract the younger audience. But overall, it was, I don't know. It could have been something if he just stick to this one genre. I think
this
it
is where
didn't
this
try to
movie
be too
also
many things.
yeah, the movie suffered like a mixture, like it suffered from having these tonal
Dissonance.
issues where just some critics reviews who are like criticizing the movie for having like it's being like a mess, they keep saying it feels like it's some combination of it's a Marvel movie it's a movie where Sam Raimi's stuck inside a Marvel world, or it's a Marvel movie that's trying to be a Sam Raimi movie, or some like combination of that criticism. And I think it comes from the fact that whenever they leaned into the hardcore horror elements, it was out of place at times where it killed the momentum of what was going on in the scene. Like when they're in that tunnel running away, all of a sudden like the fifth like blast door that they close on her after four others that she just decides to walk through, she's doesn't walk through that one, and now we're like five shots of reaction shots, build up music, and then she pops in from the side and this jump scare. I'm like, all of a sudden we decided it's a horror movie.
Here's
for like
something
1
that
minute.
I really wanted to address, as well as the tone shifting left audiences guessing as to what was meant seriously and what was a joke.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, in my theater, when Doctor Strange is talking with the corpse's body and he's got, he's missing half his face, and he's talking like this, the audience was erupting with laughter. They thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And
Everyone
it's like, it was just like, it's like, that's he's talking seriously.
Genuine piece of dialogue. Yeah.
Was it meant to be serious? Was I supposed to really care about, like, it's like, he looks ridiculous. Yeah. He sounds ridiculous. It almost felt intentional, but then you realize, oh, he's actually giving important information. It's the kind of thing that you would see in Scary Movie, the parodies, where it's like, what did you say? What? It wasn't...
Well, in my theater, people were laughing when there's a sequence where Patrick Stewart's Professor X is in the mind of the Wanda that's being possessed by our Wanda from the main the 616 world, and he's trying to like pull her out from under the rubble. It's seemingly a reference to Sokovia, where she would have been at one point, and then if he cannot pull her out, then the evil Wanda is going to take over the mind completely and get inside his mind. And so he's walking in that sequence because it's in the mind, and like there were like a dozen people in the theater just like laughing at it. Oh, he's walking. What? I'm like, it's a serious moment, even the music and all the stuff. And I think you're right, because it left people not understanding. Because here's the thing, in movie making, there's many different ways. Like the mise-en-scène can give you a lot of clue you into a lot of like, that's the thing, we talked about this before on the show, where sometimes you don't need to know what the characters are saying to understand what is happening, because there's visual cues, there's other auditory cues like the soundtrack and the score of the movie, the cinematography that you're seeing, the reactions, and like what the actors are doing physically on screen. And I think at times, even like when he's taking over the body of the dead Doctor Strange, what made it confusing is Marvel was too busy making that whole thing look cool, and rather than showing the horror of it all, and then that Marvel humor got in the way of creating the horror aspect of it again, where Bong is like, I don't even want to know. And then
can I take issue with
is there any tension there?
Cool thing?
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but green screens have really lost their effect on me. This is a green screen. It's not impressive. All I saw on this was a ton of green screen, a lot of CGI, a lot of things moving around, and everything looks like a computer generated image.
Also stolen from other films.
Is that right?
Like, yeah. Like I was getting Mandalorian mixed with Carrie in one scene.
There's
yeah.
On Twitter, one person pointed out the other day that literally, and they put the two pieces of music back to back, Danny Elfman literally took the sequence in the theatrical version of Justice League where Flash is like in slow motion trying to get the sword poked back to Wonder Woman and they're in the tunnel. Well, if you don't, but if you guys are watching, you probably know that scene from, or if you don't, look it up. There's a piece of music in there used. It's like connected to the Flash as a character, and not Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman took that piece of music and literally reused it in the soundtrack and the score for this movie. And it feels like there was a lot of that happening, a lot of derivative elements in this film.
You know, maybe that's a little Easter egg saying that DC is going to be part of the Marvel universe.
I don't think so.
Yeah, let's hope not.
I mean, yeah. All in all, this movie was not a bad film. If you look at it in a vacuum, I think the movie works. It's certainly not Eternals, which had fundamental structural plot flaws and logic gaps, whereas this movie doesn't quite have that. But it's just when you go beyond the most basic of standards for storytelling is when this movie starts to like disappoint.
I disagree with that statement. So you know, can we just say, Dan, this
totally,
is all your...
Totally disagree. I hadn't seen a lot of the stuff that I was supposed to see in order to understand this. I did not understand a lot of the movie. I don't think it stands on its own. I don't think it's a particularly entertaining film unless you know everything going into it. Lastly, if you're going to bring John Krasinski in, I think the big missed opportunity is that for Eternals, they really just should have cast the entire cast of The Office. I think that would have been a much better Eternals movie.
Steve Carell as Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Have Kevin up there, with his pot of chili, and using that against other. I would watch that Eternals.
There was some people wanted Dwight Schrute. Who's the actor who plays Dwight Schrute?
Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson. Some people some fans wanted to see him in this because they're like, if John Krasinski is Mr. Fantastic, then Rainn Wilson should play Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's probably going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Maybe he is the Victor Von Doom of the 838 universe that the Illuminati was in.
It could be. Rainn Wilson voiced Lex Luthor a million times for DC cartoons. So he's used to being villains. Yeah,
that is true.
He could easily be Dr. Doom. I would not put it past them. I would not put it past them to put all of the cast of The Office in the Fantastic Four movie.
He might be Loki in a different universe as well. I could see that happening.
He could play a good Loki. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, a good movie. I think that you guys. I'm probably the only one saying.
Stop saying that.
It's a decent.
Not a good film.
Don't let us tell you if it was good or bad.
Yeah.
You tell us if you liked it. Comment, share the videos. If you think we had something decent or relevant or interesting to say, let us know what you think, because the jury's clearly out over here.
Yeah.
What are we moving on to from here?
And the beat goes on.
It does. So this is our issue now. We've stumbled on this word Marvelized, and we're in a weird state of storytelling now where everybody's got superpowers, everybody's some kind of special thing who's the only person who can save the world, and the world always needs saving, apparently. Are these tropes tired? Are they redundant? Are we burnt out on stories? We defeated Thanos and we're just sort of picking up the pieces right now. How do we get out of this age of heroes, if you will?
It's superpowers and good heritage sometimes as well.
Good
like
heritage?
The heritage,
or both.
So someone or money, right?
Yeah.
Those three.
By the way, I just want to point out something. We're talking about the Age of Heroes, and I just want to clear up the confusion in case anybody clicked onto this and is thinking we're talking about the 2011 Sean Bean movie Age of Heroes. No, we're not talking about that. We are talking about all the comic book movies that swamp the theaters and our televisions and everywhere we go. We're talking about that Age of Heroes. Yeah. Just wanted to establish that, no
Thank you.
confusion.
Whilst we're at the establishing, can I just say that I take full property over term marvelized. I came up with that. You guys are free to use it this time.
Do you know how memes work? Nobody cares who made them.
I'm
The
about to go
idea
get that
is, will
domain
they
name.
catch
I know,
on?
but for the sake of this podcast, marvelized belongs to me, guys. I can
Well,
send you
If you're gonna take credit for it, can you tell us
paperwork
what you
later
think
on.
it means? Because I don't. I think it can be used a lot of different ways.
I think I just go back to how I pitched the story to you guys. It started with Rey. I was just very, as you guys know, and the whole world, I'm a huge fan of Star Wars, and I just wish Rey was just Rey. She did not have to be, the grandchild of the most powerful, Sith lords in the universe, and that was the kind of first time it was like a missed opportunity for kids to have the message. They have this very good message in one of the Star Wars. I think in the episode 7 or 8, there's a kid who picks up the broom.
It's
Do you
8.
guys remember?
8.
8, right.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very special because that was essentially where I thought the story was going. Anyone can be a Jedi. You don't need to be, the son of Darth Vader, or, you don't need to be experimented on like 11 in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
You don't need to be born with special powers. You don't need to be bitten by a radioactive spider. Like you can just be great because of who you are. And I'm very, very upset the world's not there.
I think that's a wonderful point. I also think that, the idea of evil has really been diluted. I don't think anybody knows what evil is anymore. Everything's so ambiguous. Everything's just kind of like, yeah, they're the foe we're up against, but why?
Yeah.
What do they
The
want?
anti-hero.
Well, that's the other thing is like now starting, I think, with Breaking Bad, we started seeing a lot more anti-hero content where it's not good people doing good for the sake of, they're not Superman, they're not Clark Kent who just, they have powers and they think, given my gifts, I need to look out for those who are weaker than me. This is, I'm a victim of the system and I therefore am justified in fighting against it. That became
and we root for them.
We're asked to when we watch these things, yeah, and that's how you end up siding with, a meth kingpin.
That's why I don't.
Exactly.
I have a rule. I don't watch shows that glorify drugs and people who deal in the business of drugs. Let's say that. I don't want to say drug dealer specifically, but because there's many different aspects of the. Anyway, whatever. The point is, I don't watch anything related to that. So that's why I've always avoided and always will avoid Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad,
Oh, that's
and
why.
a lot of other stuff. I can't get through most Marvel Scorsese movies simply because of
Narcos.
like my hate for that stuff.
Interesting.
Like
Wow.
every once in a while I'll watch something. Like I've watched, is it Raging Bull? What's the one? What's the black and white De Niro
Raging
about the
Bull.
box? Is that yeah?
Raging
And The
Bull.
Departed I had to watch for school, so like I had to watch it. Not a bad movie, but if I had to
it's
make a
pretty
choice
good.
on my own, probably wouldn't watch it. So.
But then you watch Tarantino.
No, actually, I'm not a big
So-
Tarantino. My brother is a huge Tarantino fan. Because the thing is, I also don't love gore for the sake of gore, and that's what Tarantino does a
neither.
lot of. So
Well,
the
he
vast
has-
majority
he
of Tarantino movies I don't watch, like Pulp Fiction. Again, exception to the rule, because I like the narrative structure that they have, like the way they edited the movie, and that's why I watched it. But the content of the film is largely inconsequential. Basically, if you don't know what happens in the movie, it doesn't matter because there's nothing really happens in the movie at the end of the day, and outside of some of the iconic sequences. I'm not.
Let's leave it for another show, but I will strongly disagree with that statement. No, there's a lot of stuff that are packed in Tarantino and Scorsese.
I'm also
They're
a
both
Tarantino
good.
and Scorsese fan, but and it's interesting that those two always get lumped together in the same conversation. But they're good.
I had it in my whole course essentially. I had this course called Film Authorship, and we had Tarantino and Scorsese back to back, which is quite fascinating to have them two compared. But yeah, anyway, how did we get here?
Well, that I wanted to bring up the idea of moral relativism and the idea that we really don't see good and evil the way that we used to, and
Mm.
somehow everybody's part of some kind of resistance. Everybody's fighting some nebulous bad thing, even though we never really know why they're evil. They're just dressed in black or something.
They make them crazy.
Yeah,
Like
or they're
Wanda.
crazy,
Mm.
or they're. But now there's even there's a in the push to destigmatize mental illness, we get crazy superheroes, like Moon Knight, and who again, morally relativistic. He's a mercenary. We don't know what he stands for, and we're just supposed to look at this and go, well, he's got a costume and he's talking to some other people who clearly want something different, but I don't know who's good or who's bad. And I would even go so far to say is these people aren't heroes. They are super powered people
Yeah.
because they don't stand for anything.
Dan, you're
Dan, we
muted.
lost your sound.
Sorry, muted myself there for a bit. Anyway, I keep doing this every week. But as I was saying, I've said this earlier in the show on many occasions. I feel like what you're saying. So yeah, there are superpowered people that we should reserve the tag of hero for the people who only do heroic things, and you don't have to have superpowers to be a hero, superhero, hero, whatever. But the thing is that that's where Marvel's using its restraint in the past in terms of on the creative side helped ground those characters, because now it's like, because every property, whether it's a show or a movie, at the end they have to have a big CGI action set piece where we have to go fist the protagonist has to go fist to cuffs with the antagonist in some way. It's like we're constantly being reminded that this is a superhero movie or superhero TV show, rather
Yeah.
than us just saying that guy's a hero because, or that gal is a hero because they made some sacrifices to do
The
something that was a
morals.
selfless act.
The
And that's
action and the CGI have taken precedence over the story and the heart and the entire concept of heroism. So I don't know. Maybe we need to reassess the title of this, because I don't think we're in an age of heroes. I think we're in an age of moral relativism that is irresponsible and doesn't tell very good stories.
not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, not to say I don't want to like sound like we're generalizing here, because here right now we're talking about specifically superhero movies, so like Marvel, DC, any other superhero property specifically. Like, think Marvel more so than anything else right now, because that seems to be that's like a theme this week, because their projects are all over the place. We got Miss Marvel coming up, Thor's coming up, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight just finished,
No,
Wakanda Forever.
we can
But
be talking about majority of the films where feature people with special powers. The intentions
yeah,
behind it aren't relevant anymore.
but like, okay, so for example, I was gonna mention um Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a movie about this very average person. I mean, and then we get into the craziness, but this average person who could be anybody you run into at your neighborhood laundromat or shopping mall or whatever. And then they're thrust into this extraordinary situation. And then the concept of the movie is multiversal, so you get into all the craziness of it all, and you
Here's
see the very different lives that person could have led in a different reality. And at the end, it's all about a selfless act that is, some sort of sacrifice for yourself, for the greater good, for people you love. And I felt like that I think is what, when done right, that's what a great film about heroes of any kind would be. But Marvel
I
movies tend
don't
to go
see
way
that
far
as a
beyond that.
hero movie.
You
But I
don't?
will
Okay.
say that that movie had heart, and a that was about a a mother and a daughter, and a woman who was having an identity crisis and realizing that her life could have gone all like that was an incredibly human and relatable movie. And there was a way in for anybody watching that to be like, yeah, when I think about all the other things I could have done or all the things that I could do with my life, that's something that every person thinks about. Not every person is the one person who can travel in between universes and needs to press the button in this universe so that the other button goes off in the other universe. Like, it's
Do you remember Everything Everywhere All at Once? She was a nobody.
yeah.
Right.
Like she didn't even have special powers. That's
No.
why it was such a refreshing film.
And I think that
one
ties
of
back to like what you said, the biggest mistake that um Lucasfilm made with Star Wars after Episode 8, where they clearly established that the theme of the movie was you don't have to be a Jedi or a Sith Lord to make a difference. You could be anybody, and that was like woven into like everything that what was a love interest for Poe in that movie. Played, was it Kelly Marie Tran played the, I forget the name of the character, but that was the biggest thing. If you were walking away with one theme from that movie, it was that. But then
it
like
was
the
the
next movie
Finn.
completely
Yeah.
reverses course and says, oh, never mind, this is Star Wars. You have to be special in this universe to matter. Taking it to a total extreme with that whole concept.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. I've been saying this for years, but I would love something like the original the original Superman movies to come out. I would love a guy to just be a good person who is straightforward, who is standing up against real problems that we understand, and is just looking out for people. I would
Yeah.
love to see the most
Witcher.
basic superhero movie come back.
Witcher. Speaking of
Witcher?
Superman. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, games are far better. Netflix butchered it, but yeah, in the games, in the book, kind of Witcher's intentions and kind of his way of operation is pretty straightforward, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you'd
Where do you
enjoy
think
that.
where do you think Batman fits into all of this?
It
That's
depends
probably
on which
John's question.
version of Batman we're
Okay.
talking about, because I think the version that we got in the Zack Snyder movies with Ben Affleck's version of the character largely fits the theme of, what we've been talking about, where he's almost superpowered in that movie, given like just what he's capable of doing. He's basically superhuman compared to the average person, even though he doesn't have actual powers, if you will. Whereas I think like the Dark Knight and even the Batman with Robert Pattinson, I think those versions of the character present a much more grounded person, where every action that they make has some consequences, whether it's physical consequences on themselves, or material consequences in the world around them, or character relationship consequences with the people they interact with. So you feel like they're real people, especially I think Christian Bale's Batman
For
felt like a
sure.
real person. And I mean
Well,
that movie like created the I think the most realistic, because here's the thing, you can take the tag of superhero movies away from the Dark Knight trilogy, and especially the Dark Knight specifically, and even to a certain degree the Dark Knight Rises, and you can watch those movies as science fiction or action epics. I think
yeah.
the Dark
And they
Knight was
make
mostly a
sense.
crime thriller, and the Dark
Yeah.
Knight Rises was a war film, and whereas the Batman Begins was a much more traditional superhero origin story. And you don't see many examples of that. I think when it comes to Marvel stories, the only real example of a movie where if you were like, pretend it's not a superhero film, then what is it? Rather than it being a superhero film that's also a historic epic like the first Avenger, because most superhero films try to like mix genres, but there's very few superhero movies that you could say it's a movie. If it wasn't a superhero movie, it would still be a movie.
But
And
they've
Logan is an
tried
example
that.
I would point out, like a
As
best
I
film.
mentioned earlier in
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, it's almost like they've tried it. They've tried to be a horror film for. I'll go as far as 40%
It's
of the
relative.
film. I was getting elements of horror film, but I don't know what happened. Whether Disney was like, "Hey, hang on, you need to calm down. It's still children's kind of. We still get children in the movie theater for that."
Well,
Because
yeah, they don't want to have it be rated R, obviously.
yeah,
But yeah, like I will say, like Doctor Strange didn't do nearly enough for it, because it has tonal issues, and it's because they could not figure out what movie they wanted it to be. Like there were like
Yeah.
elements of horror here and there. Every once in a while, we will let Sam Raimi shoot a horror sequence or scene or part of a scene or set of shots within a scene, and then the rest of the movie is going back to being your average Marvel fare, and that was a
Exactly.
problem,
Mm.
you know. But yeah, I mean, okay, one question that I feel like we have kind of danced around and haven't quite answered, but it's on the graphic. Do you think the MCU has become too much of a good thing now that we're talking about all these trends of these recent releases?
I think
What
that's an optimistic way to phrase the question. I think
what
it's just
what
too
do you mean
much.
by it? Has
I
the
mean,
MCU? I'm dyslexic. I can't read that fast. Hang on. Has the MCU become too much of a good thing? What do you mean by good thing? Does it
so
work?
well, okay, so the right now I think the MCU on a from a financial level, it's still one of the most profitable and highest grossing franchises. Well, not only like of all time, but also it props up the theatrical business at large
Hmm.
because a lot of people, the vast majority of revenue the theater owners make are from playing like Marvel or DC or superhero movies because they make the most amount of money. So in that sense, it's a good thing for the business. However, from a storytelling perspective and what we as a society and and in pop
Mm.
culture value from movies, I feel like a lot of what Marvel has started to do kind of boxes you into very specific like kinds of stories that they're telling,
You
whereas
know,
then
I
that's where
think
we
I see
miss
what you're getting
some.
at.
Yeah,
I think given that the story has become as complex as it has, and there are as many details to keep track of, more than any other
yeah,
franchise, it it really has backed itself into a corner where they are indebted to the fans, and they need to always make sure
Yeah.
that they're doing things that fans
Mm.
will appreciate.
They need
And
to keep delivering now.
and the
Yeah.
storytelling is suffering because it's what's taken precedence is the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the cameos and making sure that there's enough hype for this one. And really, the cameos in these movies, they serve a couple functions that probably not everybody considers. The first is, it gets a celebrity, uh, more residual payments for their appearance in that movie, and so they get billed and paid and all that stuff. But
Mm.
beyond that, you also are basically creating a trailer, in this example, for the next Fantastic Four movie. And you're saying
Yeah.
like it's it's not a scene, it's not a story, it's a trailer for coming soon. Fantastic Four in the MCU,
I just
starring John Krasinski.
Oh my goodness, I just thought about the best update for our title.
Hmm.
Escaping the Marvelized Age of Cameos.
The Age of Cameos. Yeah,
let me
that's
see
what
if
it
that
The
is.
domain
Age
is
of
available.
Cameos. That's actually good to know. I saw that. I was like, yes.
Marvelize.com. You can actually, I would say, get on it because somebody
Yeah.
will snap it up.
We
That
should
somebody might be
start it,
me.
guys. Side business.
Yeah,
Let's just write a blog for marvelize.com.
It should just redirect to
Marvelize.com.
this episode.
Yeah. Yes, that would be fantastic. Um, but yeah, I think we can all agree it's Marvel specifically and also the greater superhero genre as a whole. Well, like I said, there are material benefits to the what they do for the industry at large. Bringing people back to theaters like the Spider-Man movie, $2 billion. No Way Home. It propped up the industry at a time when a lot of movies were struggling. But what it does is the downside of it is it takes over so much space for other storytellers to thrive doing things that are not superhero movies. Like filmmakers now have to, in order to like gain enough clout to do what you want to do, you have to do these studio pictures, which has always been a trend, but now more so than ever, most studio pictures that you see where they're dropping 100 150 million plus in budgets happen to be superhero properties. There's very few exceptions to the rule, or if they're not superhero movies specifically, it's like it's about family, or it's about Vin Diesel and like Fast and Furious or Jurassic
I don't
Park.
have friends.
uh,
I got family.
Oh, what happened there? What happened?
Well, I guess Vin Diesel had to get a word in there. But that's again the point is like even if it's not a superhero movie, it it basically feels like a superhero movie because the people are like acting like superheroes. So yeah, I feel like we need more
Yeah.
human stories is what I'm trying to say.
I would like to see more human stories. I'd like to see more human acting. I am really not a fan of this Meisner technique of doing less and doing less, because you are left with robots who don't emote. And what I also find is that people watch movies and then they imitate them. And so people become like the things they watch. And people have character. Regular people, they do things and they move around. I would love to see an unscripted sneeze in a movie, you know, that doesn't drive the plot forward or something like that. Just like, let's see people do what they actually do. You want to really show the truth of humanity? Stop underacting. Stop unreacting. Actually do something.
And
affect reality.
We don't have superpowers.
That
no one
too.
does.
It just randomly reminded me of that scene from 21 Jump Street where there's like Nick Offerman's like sitting across the desk from Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, and they're like, what are the Miranda rights? He's like, you have the right to be an attorney. He's like, what? And then Jonah Hill's like, well, you do have the right to be an attorney if you want. And like, and then Nick Offerman goes like, you two idiots are perfect. And it's like at the start of the movie before they get sent on the whole undercover mission. And I know that those two, that 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, were largely like, you know, they had a script and stuff, but there was a lot of improvisation. And some of the best moments in those movies were just improvised, you know, lines and moments in the scenes.
Which is often the case for acting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I think whatever age we're in, it's safe to say it's time for us to escape it and see something new. Or if you disagree, or if you do agree, tell us what you think. Like, subscribe, share. This is Oh So Curious. But we are moving on to our sports segment. Let's see what happened in sports.
Dan and Brian.
With Dan and Brian. Here's sports.
Hey.
It's time for sports with Dan and Brian.
Veteran umpire Dan Bellino issued an apology after throwing D-backs pitcher Madison Bumgarner out following a routine check of his hands and glove for sticky substances.
Yeah, Daniel, I bet he was really bummed about it.
Bumgarner had a couple words with him after to end the inning, but
So Daniel, the Bucks and Celtics are coming out of hibernation for Game 3 following a 3-day slumber.
Oh, the things that the NBA does for its TV overlords.
Chuck, are you with us?
I'm bored, man.
Yes,
Chuckalepsy. What is wrong with you, man?
Dodgers part owner Todd Boehly and Clear Lake Capital just won the bid to acquire Chelsea.
I'm sure the Brits are going to be happy about this one.
It's like they're trying to extinct our club.
Did you know LSU's Geosciences department registered a small earthquake when Garth Brooks performed at LSU's Tiger Stadium?
I'm not even gonna try, just cue the clip.
Welcome to Death Valley. Well, Paula's dream come to die. Good luck, coach. Go Tigers.
Wow, well, I feel informed.
Welcome
Whose
to the
idea
Oh
was
So
that?
That's all Dan. That's everything
all
about
Sunny.
this was Dan.
Yeah.
Dan makes this show the ridiculous thing that
Oh.
it is. Between the Toretto meter and the open mic intros and sports and he's a genius.
Thank you.
Yeah, want to talk about that? You want to tell us how you came up with this stuff? It's open mic night. Anything goes, man.
Yes.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, we can talk whatever we like as
What's your process in making these things? How do you decide what's like funny, what fits the theme of the show, or are you just trying to mess with us?
it's a little bit of all of those things. Like, I think it's at this point it's well established that when I write the quick hit scripts, and I always plant a few like tripwires, I like to call them, and see if you guys just kind of read it and then catch yourself and send me the clip to like put into the final video, or sometimes you guys have hilarious reactions as you read it for the first time, and then that becomes part of it. It's fun. I think our brand of humor is self-deprecating, but it's also, you know, we have fun with it. It's
I
that's
love
keep
it.
it loose, you know.
Yeah.
You mentioned Vin Diesel and the family in this week's quick hits, and
Yeah.
to the point that I just read it and I was like, Dan, just roll the clip. I know this is just a moment for it. I gave you a specific cue. Play it.
There you go. Well, you didn't have to, because I would have done it anyway. You know, much
Exactly.
like
Turn your back on family.
Just like, I know you're so busy as well. That's another thing. You're so busy. How do you have time to just come up with this level of like
you know what else I will say? I thought I was being clever when I referred to the quick hits as the crick hits, because you know, every time we have a joke that doesn't land, he puts the sound of crickets in there. And I thought, well, if he's already going to put them in there, I'm going to call them the crick hits. And I was expecting just the noise. And of course, I go, yep, them's the crick hits. And he takes a bunch of little bugs and animates them to fly into my mouth to make it look like I've eaten bugs. For the record, internet, I don't eat bugs. I am not some bug-eating man. I will never be a bug-eating man.
We don't know that, guys.
I know that for sure.
It's like you sounded like John Oliver there. It's
the footage was edited.
It's you just reminded me of that you know, whenever he brings up Ted Cruz, I don't like that man. I don't want to like I don't eat bugs. I am not a bug-eating man.
I'm not a bug-eating man.
He had the obsession with Adam Driver too.
I don't have that.
Oh.
He would always just like make very sexualized jokes about Adam Driver, but like in a funny way. And then one day, like one show, he just gets like a FaceTime from Adam Driver, and he calls him out for it. He's like, "Hey."
Oh yeah, John Oliver. It's hilarious. Yes.
It's hilarious.
I was lost. I'm like, wait, who are you talking? Are we still talking about John Oliver?
Yeah. Are you guys fan of it?
Of John Oliver?
Oh, I'm a huge fan.
I liked him when he was on The Daily Show, and I liked him in The Love Guru. I never really watched Last Week Tonight.
You would enjoy that.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's your cup of tea.
Speaking of crickets.
There we are. Oh, here's an instant replay. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah, it's fake. This is deep faked. I didn't eat crickets.
Oh,
you might not be able to tell. Those are actually animated cartoon crickets. Wow, how many times are we going to watch it?
Sorry, Hey, by the way, remember, I think I snuck them in the next time around too. Like you did 2 weeks in a row. And then...
Did you sneak them in a second time?
Oh
man, I totally missed that.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
It's like an Easter egg. Love that.
Yeah, quick hits with Easter eggs.
Called the cricket.
Yeah, another great reason to watch and pay very close attention to Oh So Curious. We do. Are we talking about bidets today?
What?
I'm sorry, I caught the lower.
Oh, bidets. Graphic. Oh yeah, yeah, that's still in there. Sorry, I just saw the graphic. Yeah, Roland's not here. I think he's the only bidet user in the group. I found when you guys were talking about it, you're like you try the bidet once, and then you're just the man who uses the bidet. Like it's,
by the time second time you use a bidet, you're a bideter.
Bideter.
Okay, I'm googling bidet. Are we?
Oh, careful.
Are we talking about what I think we're talking?
Make sure you look up a video.
Yes.
Wow.
What'd you find?
Used to have one of those in our in the house, and I never knew what. We used to have them. Like I remember as a like little girl when we used to have them. But no, they don't come very often. I never knew what they're for.
Would you like to find out?
I know now. I'm a big girl now. Oh damn. How do I even want to know how you guys ended up talking about bidets?
I forget. I think
you were on that episode though. Remember, Mags? It was they first brought it up during the pre-show, and then we were like, "Hey, so what's everybody been up to?" And then Roland's like, well, I tried the bidet, and then Andrew was just like, what? And then we just like had a 20-minute tangent talking about bidets. That's kind of how that
I
conversation
don't think
went.
I was part of that, but that's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
Restore the Snyderverse, family, and random stuff.
You shouldn't have said that.
I don't
Why
have friends.
Snyderverse?
I got family.
Yeah.
You got that's a great way to just like pivot
It's
to a different topic. I love it.
Reminiscent of Pee-wee's Playhouse with the secret word.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I just wanted to run this thing by you guys. I brought it up earlier, and I don't think we really addressed it. But since we're on the, on the topic of family, we might as well talk about what's been going on with the movie that's all about family.
Oh, yes.
So I did want to ask you guys, what have you been following this story where Justin Lin quit the movie like a week into production, and the
I've
man
seen
is
little
done
things about
just,
it.
huh?
I've seen little things about it, but what's the deal?
So Justin
What's
Lin,
his
who
name, by the
directed,
way?
sorry, come again?
How would you pronounce his surname? Because you included him in
Louis
the
Leterrier. He's French.
Leterrier.
Yeah.
I pronounced it well.
There you go. No, it is.
Not bad.
So Justin Lin, who's directed 5 out of the 9 Fast movies, he started with Tokyo Drift, and he's done, I think, like Fast 5, 6, 7, and 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. He did not do F9. Or I think he didn't do, no, he didn't do Fate of the Furious, which is the 8th one, but he did do F9. Anyway, he's done 5 out of the 9 movies, or 10 if you count Hobbs and Shaw. He's done half of the movies in this franchise, and the guy was coming back to do this one, which, by the way, Fast X is meant to be this 2-part movie where they have the 10th one and the 11th one. Then they were gonna at one point film them back to back. I don't know if they're still doing that, but for some reason, and as we now sort of know, the reason was it seemed like Vin Diesel, according to a report, would come to set late and would be out of shape and would not know some of his lines. And then he's a producer on the movie, so he has a lot of pull in terms of the creative side. So he would give notes on the script and
Define
make
out of shape.
changes. Huh? Out of shape?
Define out of shape.
They didn't really
So-
define it, but I feel like all that means is he's not in Dom Toretto shape, but maybe he's got a beer belly. I don't know. Like he's not in the shape that you'd expect him to be. The Rock shows up to a movie set and he wants to be Black Adam. He's like, I don't need padded suits. Just give me something that shows, how much muscle I put on every morning at 5 a.m., 8 hours a day working out. He's got a work ethic. And I think that's why The Rock left these fast movies. He's like, I'll do the Hobbs and Shaw. I won't do this because I can't deal with certain people whose work ethic isn't good. He never pointed specifically to anybody, but it's been
who's most
speculated that
famous for,
Vin Diesel was the one he was highlighting.
But who's most famous for a notoriously bad work ethic?
Well, I know in the set of one of the Blade sequels, Wesley Snipes wouldn't even come out of his trailer for a lot of the time, and so they had to rewrite the movie as they went because they couldn't have the main actor be in some scenes. His behavior on set was pretty bad, and I think at one point he even assaulted one of the crew members, and I don't know exactly what happened in terms of if charges were pressed or whatever, but so pretty bad behavior. And Jared Leto has had bad behavior.
Yeah.
Who else is out there? Because you keep getting them every now and
Ezra
then.
Miller has been terrorizing Hawaii for the last month, so there's that.
Yes.
Wow.
He's been arrested 3 times, I'm pretty sure. He had a restraining order filed against him. I was like, somebody get him out of that state. Let's get him back to LA.
As the I didn't know who he was until I started seeing those stories, and I'll be honest with you, every time I saw his face pop up, all I could think was he would be a very convincing Elon Musk. He looks enough like him. I was like,
he does.
That movie. I could see him doing it if you needed. If looking like the person even mattered, which apparently for Elvis, it does not. I keep seeing trailers. I keep seeing the same trailers every time I go to the movies.
Yeah.
I'm not at all interested in the Elvis movie, even though I like Elvis. I'm not.
Do you like Baz Luhrmann?
I don't. I like The Great Gatsby, but
interesting.
That
so
looks
people
wrong.
who compare Moulin Rouge and Great Gatsby. A lot of them, they don't like Great Gatsby. They prefer Moulin Rouge.
I did not care for Moulin Rouge.
I love Great Gatsby, but I also really like Moulin Rouge. But I'm not excited for Elvis either for some reason.
Yeah, and the thing is, like,
but Tom
Elvis
Hanks
is
is in there.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started there.
Are you trying to get him excited for the movie or to have him run away from the movie?
Wrong, bad call. Bad call to try and get me excited for that. With
there
Tom
he is.
Hanks.
I see him
doing a really bad accent, whatever it is. I can't even be too.
But
sure.
he's been like his what are they called? His roles recently. They're very diverse. He's really branching out.
He's in the Pinocchio movie too for Disney coming up.
Yeah.
They're making like multiple Pinocchio movies. He's the one. He's gonna be the person who makes Pinocchio in the Disney version. I forget what the name of the character is.
He's gonna be Geppetto.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
By the way, Baz Luhrmann like came out and talked for like way too long at CinemaCon, and you know Baz Luhrmann's got like a very like specific way of talking. Like he's got an accent, and he just kept like people like wondering, looking at their watches, aren't we supposed to like get to the DC stuff at this Warner Brothers presentation? And like he just kept talking and talking about the movie, but he did say like, you know, he did not want to make this movie, and then he found the actor who plays Elvis in this film, and he was like, yes, now I'll make this movie because you know I'm forgetting the name of the actor who's playing the
Austin Butler.
Elvis.
Austin Butler. He
was Austin Butler. He's like
in Hollywood.
The perfect, according to Baz Luhrmann, the perfect fit for this role. And until he found that perfect fit, he did not want to even make the film. But the story I put up on screen. Fit? Huh?
What's so perfect about him?
I guess because the way he described it is he's not only doing a great job of playing the Elvis on screen, he also sang a lot of the songs for Elvis. Like not older Elvis songs in the movie are still they play the original Elvis recordings, but for when he's playing in the younger Elvis and parts of the movie, he's singing, he's obviously dancing, and as an actor too. So I think he brings a lot to the table, and that's the reason why he really liked the actor.
I feel like I'll end up seeing it because I'm a big Elvis fan, but I don't know.
I'll be interested to see the history. Have you guys ever seen a duo of Frank Sinatra and Elvis? It's a very rare video. It's the most darling thing in the world. Can we watch it, Dan?
The what?
It's essentially Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra, and it's this rare clip of them two. And then you have like this one generation with the other generation performing together at the same time for like just a minute, but it's incredible. Let's watch that. I think it's
I'm sacrificing the tab that I had open for bidets to do this, so this better be good.
Oh,
not the bidets.
Sorry. Had to just point that out. They did a duet. We can't really listen to it. I'll put it up. Let's see. Is this Priscilla Presley?
I think you need to skip it a little bit. A bit more.
I'm guessing that's Sinatra and that's Elvis in the middle.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that's how Elvis used to look. Oh, that's it.
That's the younger Elvis. That's what they cast Austin Butler to play essentially. Yeah.
See, we were talking about celebrities and attractiveness. I find Elvis attractive very much here. So
you would say he's a hunka?
He's a hunka in this one. In this video, I think he's a hunka. But so is Frank Sinatra. But
yeah, I guess he's got that Javier Bardem kind of good looks.
He's just
I don't know if I just made a very controversial comment there or not.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I guess. Didn't we I think we've done an episode and we're saving it. It's called Can Someone Be Uncancelled? I may need that episode soon. Okay, well, there's not a whole lot visually entertaining stuff going on here. He's just, oh wait,
the music
they're zooming
is
in.
Great because they're singing each other's songs.
At the same time, that would be confusing.
It's like
A medley.
it's essentially a mix. It's like
Okay.
2 songs mashed into one, but they performing each other's songs.
That's cool.
That was the fun part, as to like kind of like a little praise to each other's art.
That's neat.
It
That's
really
probably
is.
yeah.
Hmm.
That probably got a lot. I mean, it probably hit home a lot more back in its time than it probably does for people today, who most people probably haven't heard a lot of Frank Sinatra and Elvis music unless you
Oh
are at
no,
Times
that's like
Square
Marvel.
at every New
No,
Year's Eve.
Dan, that's
And
like being marvelized.
huh?
You're not cool if you're not listening to Frank
Oh,
Sinatra.
I've only listened
Oh,
to. I'm not a huge Sinatra fan, and I guess you could
aren't
say I
you?
am Marvelized. Oh, there it is again. There's Marvel. Look at that. You can't get away from it.
No,
Let's try
it's
to get
more of like
more of the same.
people
Okay.
are kind of like, you're cool. It's almost like if you have Frank Sinatra in your playlist, then you're the elite.
I never
you're the
got that. The whole idea of people
ridiculous.
kind of judging each other based on what they have in their playlist. I'm like, I'm proud of the music that I listen to, because I'm like, that's what defines. Because I think the music that anybody listens to speaks more about who they are as a person, where they come from, and what they what their tastes are, obviously, than it does about the music. So I never took
Well,
that as a means to make a statement. I'm like, I listen to music I listen to. You can like it, you can not like it, and that's not really something that concerns me. I'll listen to that music.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think when you look at music and you look at somebody's playlist, what you're looking for is, do you seek out something interesting or unique, or do you just feed what you're given? Because if you sorry, do you just eat what you're, sorry, I just woke up and I haven't eaten. So it's, yeah. It's you're looking to see if people have explored and experimented and gone beyond what is just put in front of them. And so if you just listen to what is out on the radio or what's trending on Spotify,
The top 40.
yeah, you're paying for, sorry, you're listening to what people have paid to have placed in front of you.
Exactly.
And music can really take you places. It can mean something to you, and it can, if you seek out something that speaks to you, it becomes a more enriching experience rather than, well, you can dance to it.
Yeah, exactly. Do you guys
Yeah.
ever find yourself listening to your old playlist and thinking, wow, I was a completely different person? And it's a
Kind of.
playlist from 2 years ago, even last year. And I'm like, this is an awful song.
What's interesting is, through history, cultures have used music as a way to remember things and as a way to encode information, and even as a method of generating an oral history.
I mean, music is great anthropological records, I think, is one way
Yeah.
of describing music.
But on top of that, like, when there's a certain album by the Shins, "Wincing the Night Away," that came out in 2006. I listened to it constantly in middle school, and it's still some of my favorite music. But when I listen to it, it takes me back to those moments in my life, and it takes me back to that time. And that's one of the gifts of music. Is it doesn't matter if you were alive for it, when it came out, but it's when you listen to it, when it was part of your life. It's creates a part of your mind that it constantly takes you back to.
It's like a time travel machine.
It is.
I
We
love
don't have
that quality about
superpowers. We have
music.
music.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like, to kind of tag on to what you were saying, Andrew, I'm very at home with who I am as a person now in my life. Like, so I've sort of come to terms with that. I'm like, you can like it, you can not like it, you can poke fun at it, but like, I have that level of self-esteem where I'm very comfortable with that. So whether it's a Justin Bieber track from when I was in high school, or if I'm listening to One Direction because I liked one of their songs, or if I'm listening to Tupac or Snoop Dogg or I don't
Jonas
know, like,
Brothers.
I don't listen to BTS, but so I shouldn't say that. Or I'm listening to Bollywood music from decades ago, or Bollywood music from a few years ago, more contemporary. or even music. I was born in Pakistan, so like music from artists from Pakistan. Like I listened to different playlists, and I don't. Yes, I see. Yeah, my taste in music sometimes that comes across. Yeah, my taste in music has changed and
So,
evolved,
what's the
but it
last
doesn't
song
mean
you
I
have
don't
on
still
your
like those
playlist?
old tracks. Yeah.
Can we check your Spotify's or what's the last song you guys listened to?
Oh, well, last night I was treating myself to something I hadn't done in since college, and that was listen to all of Brian Wilson's Smile,
Oh,
which is brilliant work. So that's what I like.
for me, it's
I
like
was.
lo-fi music.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What?
Mainly. Lo-fi. I was doing work, and it's just this kind of. As you do, but like if you play in the background when you work, it just gives you a good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I should stop that associating music and work. I should just have a moment where I just listen to music.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
But do you guys find yourself?
some music is written to be in the background and is written
Yeah.
and is made for dancing but I've found that my taste, the stuff I listen to and the stuff I write, it's like music that you listen to hear everything that's happening, and to battery. Oh, we lost Dan.
Battery. Dan.
I'll be back. I'm still here.
Okay.
You can still listen to me talking.
Yeah.
The music of my voice, if you will.
Okay, I will. And the when something is written to elicit emotion or to transport you or just to show you what can be done with music, classical music, that's what I'll listen to in the car, because I'm just I've become exhausted with pop and pop conventions.
Same. For me, it was also like a bit of blues and jazz in the car. I don't know. I find it very soothing when people are beeping on me too. But yeah, Dan, what about you? What did you listen to last?
I was listening to some banging Shah Rukh Khan music from the 90s. It's Bollywood. If you look him up, Shah Rukh Khan is like one of the biggest actors like in Bollywood history, and sort of even transcends Bollywood in many ways. Like there's the David Letterman has a show on Netflix called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. There's a new season of that's about to come out, by the way. But Shah Rukh Khan came on for one of those episodes, and it's one of those rare moments where you see an icon from one industry can interact with another and have just an open conversation. But yeah, it's actually I don't know what movie it is, but there's a Universal Pictures movie which has this exact song that starts off under their logo at the very beginning, and it's very iconic. So I don't know if you guys can even hear that.
Not really.
No, it's not even coming through. I have this filter on, so the music doesn't come through. But yeah, the 90s was like his peak of his prime. So growing up, in the mid 90s to early 2000s, that's what I grew up watching and loving. So like when it comes down to a lot of my favorite films of all time, it has that actor in it. So that's part of like my thing. I have a playlist dedicated to just his old school music, because he's been acting. His acting career is like 3 decades long now, but I still go back to the first half of his acting career a lot of the time, because those are the movies I relate to a lot. Just childhood, the good times, just reminisce. That's again going back to the whole idea.
We don't have superpowers. We have music.
Yes.
Speaking of superpowers and music, just really quickly, do you guys remember that scene in Doctor Strange where they're a fight with the music notes?
That upset me.
That was stupid.
I was gonna ask you, what did you guys think about it? Because
I'm like, no Marvel fan can. If you like that movie and that scene specifically, you cannot complain about the third act fight sequence between Electro and Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 anymore. Because that was far more visually inspired of a sequence when they're fighting in the power plant, and all of a sudden Electro starts playing EDM music using the power station fighting Spider-Man. And I'm like, this was way more stupid than that. It's kind of like why I hate long wand fights in Harry Potter movies, because I'm like, there's only so many ways in which you can make it like look cool, like you're doing one of these moves, and I'm like, what the I don't get it.
I just
Not
didn't
entertaining.
like the CGI of it. I didn't enjoy. It's like those are musical notation. So like, are you telling me that like Doctor Strange in the middle of a fight is going to make music look like, you know, he's going to take care. This attack is going to be a C sharp as notated here. It's like, no, that's not what music necessarily looks like. That's a notation system. What a stupid device.
Yeah. I was like, is this a dance off but with musical notes? I'd rather have a dance off. I would have loved to see what kind of moves Benedict Cumberbatch has in him.
I don't.
You know,
I would
dance
not like
off
to see
against
that.
himself.
Pass.
That would have been something.
Pass.
Okay. I think we have had enough of open mic night.
Yeah,
we
but
talked
what a nice
whatever we
detour.
liked for quite a while
That was
there.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Okay,
Well,
and
what's happening next week?
yes, let's talk about what's happening next week. Let me see if I can pull up something that I want to point out here. It has nothing to do with next week. I just want to find a
Oh God.
point of transition.
What even is this?
Have you watched Too Many Cooks?
I have not. No.
Okay, that's your homework. Watch that right now. Once we're done, watch Too Many Cooks. That was my college paper that I wrote about it. Don't pause it. Don't, just watch it. Don't question it. Just don't look it up. Don't do anything. Just watch the video. Okay.
Is it 11 minutes?
Yes,
Okay. And
you
you
were
wrote your
fast.
college paper on that.
I did.
You've run out of topics, Andrew, or
No.
This
In
is
fact,
perfect.
you'll watch it. You will watch it, and you will see there really is 25 pages or more to be written about it.
Genius.
It
I'm
really
so
is.
intrigued.
It really is.
25 pages or
transitioning to
more, you said.
Or more. Yeah,
Or
because I
more.
had diagrams as well.
Can I see that picture again?
Sure, that's me in college.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
you
yeah,
do
sure. Let me
that?
pull it up.
Oh, who made the picture?
I did.
Of-
I did.
did?
It was my cover page for the paper.
Oh,
Philippe Gutierrez, he was my television criticism professor.
Yep.
nice. That's
All right.
solid. What did you study, Andrew?
Rhetoric and new media.
Solid.
That explains a
Wow.
lot.
No,
That
it
definitely
actually does. It's
does
like
explain a lot.
missing puzzle. Yeah. Cool.
Yes, it all makes sense now, is what I'll say. But guys, next week we are going to be checking out this new horror movie that's coming out based on a Stephen King book, which has
I
the
hate
same
Stephen
font
King.
title of old Stephen King novels, much like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness did. But fortunately, or at least I'm hoping fortunately, this movie has not been Marvelized. It's got Zac Efron in it, and yeah, it's a horror film. I think Roland brought this to our attention initially, like months ago. It's part of our movie eliminators, one of our top 5 that we recommended everybody else watch. We were like, why don't we watch this ourselves? It's out in theaters, and in the U.S. at least, it's also going to be simultaneously out available to watch on Peacock. I think you have to have the paid version of Peacock, not the free version, like the premium Peacock,
Gotcha.
to watch it, or you can just go watch it in theaters. I'm probably not going to watch it in theaters. I'll just watch it on Peacock.
You know what? I every once in a while I go through a phase where I really want to watch some good horror. It's been a while. I think I could use a good horror movie. Stephen King, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of cliche. He's the Marvel of horror, maybe. And
There's substance in his stories, though.
yeah, there's also a lot of weird sex stuff in it.
Sex stuff, yeah, obviously, but
Nobody ever says that out loud, by the way.
it's okay.
Like-
He's an adult. He did a lot of acid when he was writing those books. So
I guess, but I mean, like the actual ending of it, the book. Do you know what happens? Look it up.
Yeah, there was
I don't
this-
want to.
yeah, there's
I have no interest in watching the movies, so you can tell me.
Oh, it's,
It's
not, in the movies.
It's not in the movies. It's not
Just
even
g-
hinted.
Yeah,
Nothing.
that's.
Oh,
the
it
thing.
isn't?
That's yeah, people say he's a genius because of what he's written, and then I go like, but that's.
Yeah.
I
what he
typed
wrote.
in the chat, Dan, so we don't need to.
You
I thought that was a
left out
different
major
movie that it
detail.
happens at the end of. Never
But
mind.
that happens too with like
Okay.
all the main characters. It's just too much. Yeah, that's
in
another
the
thing.
book. You mean like it's not implied? It's literally in the book.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's like pretty self-explanatory. It's not hidden, nothing. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, Andrew, that adds a lot more context to
Doesn't
what
it?
Max. Yes. Now
I tried
I'm
to
having a
be-
totally different reaction to the whole.
There you go.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not what comes to like. It's horrible.
But it's not in all the books. It's not all. All
No,
of his
but there's
books.
always something. There's some element of
Yeah.
that. I don't know. Anyway, we'll watch it and I'll
Yeah.
report back to you whether or not I find anything objectionable about it.
Also next week. I mean, hey, maybe it's the return of Roland. But
so.
I hear we have an inside look at what Roland's up to potentially right now.
Oh, is that
Oh
right?
wait, no. It looks
There we
like
go.
it looked like he's already done his business and he's left the room. Looks like we just missed it.
At
But
least he
yes,
cleaned
Roland
up
will be
after
back.
himself.
Roland will be back next week on the show. I look forward to seeing him.
Brian, right? Brian's coming back too.
I hope so. I think he's finally wrapped up the what's keeping him busy on the weekends, and hopefully he will be able to join us on the show.
Look at that.
Can't wait to see what Roland has to say about his latest experiences with bidets, how he liked
sure to ask.
Firestarter. I think he's a big he's the biggest horror fan in the group, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna watch the movie.
He's
But,
like an expert. So
yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
the resident Marvel, he's the resident horror kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a specialty.
In the meantime, social. We're everywhere. We're all on all the socials: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let me see. We have a website, ohsocurious.com, soon to be marvelized.com. That I'm starting to, I've got it in my cart. I am going
He's
to
gonna
probably
buy it.
I should
You're
buy the
so
domain
going to
name,
buy it.
marvelized.com. I can't believe nobody is. You know what was the biggest surprise of me pulling that up? I pulled it up and it didn't tell me you have to pay $1,000 to buy this premium domain name. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and it's available. So I
How
am
much
definitely.
do they want from it?
Huh?
For it? How much
How
do they want
much?
for it?
They actually, so GoDaddy.com is actually telling me you can get it for 1 cent for the first year if you get a 2-year registration, and then every year after that, they would charge me the full price, which is like $20. That's nothing. I can do that. Yeah.
Just in case. But we need to do something with that. Marvelized.
Well, at the very least, it should forward to the website. But yes, be our friend. Follow us, like us, subscribe, share us with other people. We're trying to enlighten as many people as possible with our in-depth analysis of content, making sense of everything that comes your way,
including bidets.
Including bidets.
Bidets.
Oh, and happy bidet to you. Again.
Oh, nice one. Thank you, guys.
Oh, wait, before we go, we got to do it one more time.
Oh.
There we go.
Hey.
And to every mom out there, happy Mother's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day.
Thanks
Happy Mother's Day.
for giving birth to us. All.
EMI.
Alrighty.
They don't want
That's
to
it.
remember
No.
that. Sorry.
You get
All
a
right.
whole day for it. All right. Well, we'll see you next time, is what I'm trying to say. Thanks for watching.
All right.
Yeah.